The Denver Broncos are walking into SoFi Stadium with something bigger than just a game on the line. This isn't only about facing the Los Angeles Chargers, it's about proving that the Broncos are no longer the same team from last season. Broncos country remembers the heartbreak, the close battles, and the what-ifs. But this time, the story feels different. We're talking about a team wearing all white, looking sharp, confident, and ready to claim SoFi as their second home. And make no mistake, the stands won't just echo with Chargers fans, it'll be filled with a sea of orange, because Denver always travels strong. The stage is set. Injuries are there, yes, but the Chargers are hurting too. And when you put both sides on paper, you realize something special: Denver is walking in stronger, smarter, and hungrier than the last time these two met. This isn't just another game. This is a chance for the Broncos to take control, silence the doubters, and walk out of Los Angeles with momentum on their side. Every NFL matchup begins with one critical factor: health. For the Denver Broncos, this week's injury report brought both concern and hope. The first setback comes with linebacker Dre Greenlaw, who was expected to make his long-awaited debut in orange and blue. Unfortunately, he has been ruled out. Greenlaw didn't practice all week, and while fans were hoping for a return against the Chargers, his recovery needs more time. Still, the silver lining is clear: he's listed as day-to-day, not week-to-week. That's a massive difference. Day-to-day means Sean Payton believes Greenlaw could be back as early as next week, and his absence won't linger as a long-term setback. Another tough note on the injury list is tight end Evan Engram. A back issue flared up against the Colts, keeping him sidelined for now. Broncos country has been waiting to see Payton unleash Engram in that versatile, joker role, but for now, patience is required. Again, though, Denver avoided placing him on injured reserve. That tells us the team expects him back within weeks, not months, a critical sign of confidence. But here's where the good news begins. Outside of Greenlaw and Engram, the Broncos are nearly at full strength. Players like Alex Singleton, Nick Bonito, Talanoa Hufanga, Justin Strnad, and even Atkins, who quietly adds depth, were all full participants by Friday. For a team trying to build momentum, having that many defensive and special teams contributors healthy is a major boost. Now, compare this to the Chargers. They're dealing with absences in multiple areas, and that shifts the balance. Denver may miss Greenlaw and Engram, but they have enough healthy starters and rotational pieces to play at full speed. That's something Los Angeles cannot say right now. What this means is simple: Denver enters this matchup better prepared to handle adversity. Payton and his staff know exactly what they have, and they've adjusted the game plan accordingly. Instead of focusing on what's missing, they're leaning on what's available: depth, discipline, and a roster that's healthier than most entering Week 3. So yes, Broncos fans would love to see Greenlaw flying sideline to sideline and Engram stretching defenses downfield. But the key takeaway is that these aren't season-threatening injuries. Denver is positioned to weather the storm, and when those players return, this team will only grow stronger. For now, the roster is ready, the replacements are in place, and the focus shifts to execution on game day. When you compare the Denver Broncos of this season to the team that faced the Chargers last year, the difference is undeniable. Yes, Denver is missing Dre Greenlaw and Evan Engram for now, but let's be clear, they weren't part of the lineup last season either. What the Broncos do have now is a roster that looks sharper, deeper, and more complete than the one that battled Los Angeles in 2023. Take the defense, for example. This year, the Broncos have Talanoa Hufanga, an instinctive safety who brings energy and leadership. Alongside him is Alex Singleton, a tackling machine who has been the heart of the linebacker unit. Both were absent in last year's meetings with the Chargers, and their presence completely changes the outlook. Add to that the return of cornerback Riley Moss and, of course, the reliability of Pat Surtain too, who missed almost an entire Chargers game with a concussion last year, and suddenly this secondary looks much more secure. Offensively, the changes are just as impactful. In last season's loss at SoFi, the Broncos' best running back wasn't even on their roster. Now, they have JK Dobbins, the best back in the AFC West a year ago, wearing orange and blue. That single move shifts Denver's offensive identity. With Sean Payton calling plays, Dobbins' versatility and explosiveness give the Broncos a weapon that simply didn't exist in the past. And then there's quarterback Bo Nix. Last year, he showed flashes of brilliance against the Chargers, especially after settling into rhythm in the second half of their second meeting. This time, he's more seasoned, more comfortable in Payton's system, and surrounded by a healthier supporting cast. The chemistry with his playmakers is building week by week, and the confidence is clear every time he takes the field. It's also worth remembering that Denver didn't just hang with the Chargers last year, they nearly stole both games. Despite missing key players, despite the setbacks, the Broncos proved they could compete. Now, with a stronger defense, a true feature running back, and a quarterback growing into his role, they have every reason to believe they can not only compete, but dominate. This is no longer the same Broncos team that stumbled through tough moments last season. It's a group that has grown, added talent, and learned how to fight back. And when you line up these rosters side by side, it's Denver, not Los Angeles, that looks like the team on the rise. To understand why the Broncos have an edge in this matchup, you need to look closely at the Los Angeles Chargers. On paper, this team is not as strong as the one Denver faced last year. In fact, they've lost key pieces on both sides of the ball, and it shows in their roster depth and overall identity. Let's start with injuries. The Chargers will be without tight end Will Dissly, a player who served as their own version of Evan Ingram. His absence takes away a reliable weapon in the passing game, especially in the red zone. Even more concerning for Los Angeles is the loss of Elijah Molden, a safety who consistently graded highly on Pro Football Focus and fit perfectly into defensive coordinator Jesse Minter's too-high safety scheme. Without him, the Chargers' secondary is much easier to exploit. Then comes the offensive line. Star left tackle Rashawn Slater has been sidelined, and his absence leaves Justin Herbert exposed on one of the most important positions in football. Protecting the quarterback becomes a huge problem when your anchor at tackle is unavailable. Denver knows exactly how devastating that loss can be, and the Broncos' pass rush is ready to attack. But injuries are just part of the story. Look at the talent drain since last season. Joey Bosa, the Chargers' defensive cornerstone, is gone, now playing in Buffalo. Asante Samuel Jr., one of their top corners, is no longer on the roster. Khalil Mack, the pass-rushing terror who used to change games, has been sidelined as well. Even defensive lineman Poona Ford, one of their highest-graded defenders, is unavailable. That's a staggering list of departures and injuries for one unit to handle. What does this mean on the field? It means the Chargers are relying heavily on Keenan Allen and rookie Ladd McConkey to carry their offense. Both are talented, but this isn't the same dynamic attack Denver faced with full strength last year. Their defense, stripped of Mack and Bosa, lacks the bite it once had. It's like imagining the Broncos entering this game without Nick Bonito or Pat Certain, the entire outlook changes. Simply put, this is not the same Chargers team. They are weaker, thinner, and more vulnerable than the squad Denver faced last season. For the Broncos, this is an opportunity. A chance to take advantage of mismatches, attack weaknesses, and prove that the balance of power in the AFC West is shifting in their favor. The Chargers' defense has long been known for relying on its stars to cover weaknesses, but this year that luxury simply isn't there. When you take a step back and compare their current roster to last season's, the decline is striking. Their highest-graded defensive lineman, Poona Ford, is out. Joey Bosa, the heart of their pass rush, is gone to Buffalo. Asante Samuel Jr., once a promising young corner, is no longer wearing powder blue. Khalil Mack, who once struck fear into quarterbacks, has been sidelined. And Rashawn Slater, their offensive line anchor, is also out. That's not just a few names, it's the very backbone of the team. Without those leaders, the Chargers' defense looks ordinary. They're essentially relying on role players and younger talent to fill massive gaps. On paper, their unit still has Derwin James patrolling the secondary, but even his impact can't mask the glaring holes up front and on the edge. Imagine the Broncos walking into this matchup without Nick Bonito or Pat Surtain too. That's the scale of what Los Angeles is facing. And then there's the scheme. Defensive coordinator Jesse Minter has leaned heavily on a too-high safety look designed to keep everything in front of the defense. The idea is to prevent big plays, force teams to march slowly down the field, and wait for mistakes. But here's the problem, it only works if your front seven can stop the run and generate consistent pressure. Without Mack and Bosa, that pressure evaporates. We've already seen other AFC West teams struggle against this style. Michael Darcy, who covers the Chiefs, pointed out how shocked he was that Kansas City couldn't get the run game going against the Chargers. Isaiah Pacheco never faced a loaded box, yet somehow couldn't break free. But Denver is built differently. The Broncos have JK Dobbins, last year's best running back in the division, and they're committed to running the football. Unlike the Chiefs, Sean Payton's Broncos will not let the Chargers dictate pace with soft fronts. This is where Payton's creativity shines. He knows the Chargers system, and he knows how to exploit it. Expect Denver to attack the gaps, control the line of scrimmage, and punish Los Angeles for sticking to a bend-but-don't-break philosophy. Because when your defensive stars are missing, bend turns into break very quickly. For the Broncos, this is the opportunity. A weakened defense, a predictable scheme, and a chance to impose their will. Denver just needs to stay disciplined, run the ball, and force the Chargers to prove they can hold up. If there's one area where the Broncos can truly take control of this matchup, it's on the ground. The Chargers' defense is vulnerable against the run, and Denver has exactly the personnel to exploit that weakness. Last week against the Colts, Sean Payton pivoted his game plan early and leaned on the run, and Broncos fans in the stands could feel the difference. From the very first drive, every handoff to JK Dobbins or RJ Harvey brought excitement and momentum. The crowd knew it, the Broncos had finally committed to their strength. And make no mistake, JK Dobbins isn't just any running back. He was the best rusher in the AFC West last season, and now he's wearing orange and blue. Pair him with the explosive Harvey, and you've got a 1-2 punch that can punish defenses all day. Against a Chargers unit missing its stars up front, Denver has the perfect chance to establish dominance. But Payton's advantage goes beyond play calling. It's his meticulous preparation. Few coaches in the NFL scout like he does. Payton doesn't just analyze opponents, he even studies officiating crews. He and his staff track their tendencies, the kinds of penalties they're most likely to call, and how they manage games. For this week, that detail could make a huge difference. This crew, for example, is known for calling behavioral fouls, things like taunting or unnecessary celebrations. That's important, because under Payton, the Broncos have become one of the most disciplined teams in football. They know how to play within the rules, limit careless mistakes, and stay focused on execution. Last week, the lone slip-up was when Dobbins spiked the ball after a big play, which set up a chain of penalties that may have cost Denver the game. But that was a lesson learned, and you can bet the Broncos won't let it happen again. Discipline plus a punishing ground game, that's the formula Payton will bring to Los Angeles. By staying patient, running the ball effectively, and avoiding costly mistakes, Denver can dictate the pace of this contest. The Chargers' two high safety looks are designed to invite the run. The difference this week is that the Broncos have the backs, the scheme, and the discipline to take advantage. This is where Denver can turn the matchup. Pound the ball, force the Chargers to adjust, and let Bo Nix work off play action once the run game is rolling. It's simple, it's smart, and it's the path to victory. Confidence is growing inside the Broncos locker room, but outside, not every fan feels the same. Scroll through social media and you'll find plenty of Broncos supporters already chalking this game up as a loss. It's almost as if last year's heartbreak against the Chargers is still echoing in their minds. But if you really break it down, those doubts don't match the reality of this matchup. Denver played Los Angeles tight in both meetings last season. In the first game, if there had just been one more quarter of football, the Broncos looked poised to take it. In the second, after a rocky start and a 23-0 deficit, Bo Nix found his rhythm and nearly sparked one of the great comebacks. Both games showed the same thing: the Chargers didn't dominate, Denver simply ran out of time. And now, the Broncos have improved while the Chargers have lost key pieces. That shifts the balance entirely. This is why Sean Payton's group enters SoFi with confidence. They know they're healthier, stronger, and more experienced than last year. Bo Nix isn't a rookie anymore, he's a quarterback growing into his role with each passing week. The defense, led by Alex Singleton and Nick Bonito, has been making plays all season. And this week, the opportunity to attack is glaring. The biggest mismatch comes on the Chargers' offensive line. With Rashawn Slater out, their right tackle has been a revolving door, essentially a turnstile. For a pass rusher like Bonito, who leads the league in quarterback pressures, that's a dream scenario. His quick first step and relentless motor make him one of the toughest assignments for any lineman, and now he's lining up against a weak link. Expect Payton and defensive coordinator Vance Joseph to exploit that matchup again and again. Whether it's Bonito or Jonathan Cooper coming off the edge, Denver can disrupt Herbert's timing and force mistakes. This is where the game could be won. A consistent pass rush not only creates turnovers but also sets the tone for the entire defense. Combine that with an offense ready to establish the run, and suddenly the Broncos have the recipe to silence doubts and leave Los Angeles with a win. For fans, this is the moment not to jump off the bandwagon. This team is trending upward, ready to seize its chance, and on the verge of making a statement in the AFC West. The stage is set, the opportunity is there, and confidence is building. The Broncos aren't just playing for a single win, they're building momentum, belief, and a new identity under Sean Payton. This isn't about one Sunday in Los Angeles, it's about sending a message to the entire AFC West and, really, the whole NFL. For too long, Denver has been labeled as a rebuilding team, a roster in transition, or a squad destined to sit behind the Chiefs. But now? That label no longer fits. A victory over the Chargers doesn't just put a W in the standings, it changes the landscape of the division. Imagine it, the Broncos walk out of SoFi Stadium tied at the top of the AFC West, holding the tiebreaker, and sitting a full game ahead of Kansas City. That's not just progress. That's proof this team is ready to fight for the crown. And when you've got a defense flying around, a quarterback gaining confidence, and a coaching staff dialing up the right plays, you've got the formula for something bigger. Nick Bonito's dominance off the edge, Javonte Williams grinding out tough yards, Bo Nix showing growth every drive, these aren't just highlights of a single matchup. They're signs of a team evolving into a contender. And that's why this moment is so important. Wins like this don't just boost the standings, they build culture, belief, and unity. They make every player in that locker room feel unstoppable. Fans, this is where belief becomes contagious. You've ridden through the struggles, the disappointments, and the false starts of the past few years. Now, you're watching the pieces come together in real time. The Broncos aren't asking for blind faith anymore. They're showing you, week after week, that this is different. And if you're still hesitating, wondering if this is real, this is the moment to get on board. Because soon, you'll want to say you never jumped off. The truth is simple, the Broncos have the talent, the coaching, and the hunger to win now. Every snap, every tackle, and every big play is pushing this team closer to something special. And it all starts with belief, belief in the players, belief in the coaching, and belief in the journey. So buckle up, Broncos country. This isn't just another chapter in a long season. This could be the spark that ignites something unforgettable.